Good evening, November Foxtrot, and welcome to episode 189. This week's we're talking about Blowbacks and BattleSims. Yeah, man, 189. 189. I thought you quite liked Blowbacks and BattleSims as a title. I thought that was quite smart.
Well, to be fair, when I first read it, I was like, "What? Oh yeah, one of them."
Yeah. Yeah, it's not what you think it is.
It's not.
Welcome to the show, everybody. We're joined this evening in the audience by Steve, Defiant Events, the Roscoe, Pegasus, Daniel Guest. Will Daniel Guest is in the bath, so Daniel, enjoy.
Love it.
Splashy. Splash. We don't have a splashy noise. I'll see if I can find one later on in the show. Hi Will, hi Les, Kenny, Rebel. My G3 is a beast. Nice. How are you, Andy?
I'm all right. How are you? Recovered?
Yes. No.
You got to play this weekend, didn't you?
I did get to play. Hence the topic of this evening's episode.
It's like it all falls into place and we plan things.
I know. Daniel Guess, I'm all sudsy. That's like the worst equivalent of Pudsey, isn't it? It's Sudsy the bear.
He's all lathered up.
Yeah.
I don't know which one's worse, lathered or studdy.
Sudsy. Hi, Danny, Pooh Buddy.
Anyway,
we'll talk about that later. Gavin, Fat Pigeon, Jigglypuff Gus, welcome to the show. Should we roll off with some news to start with? Because there's quite a lot of news this week.
Is there? You found a lot. You've been really busy. I've done nothing.
You say I've been busy. I just sat there on my phone and stuff pops up and I go, oh yeah, screenshot.
Yeah.
let's roll through some of my screenshots.
Roll.
I take my gun and I go pew 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 pew.
News. So, first piece of news this week is that Gilly Sniper Girl has announced that she will be stepping back from Airsoft from a while. So, for those that watched our stream with Gilly Sniper Girl, excellent sniper, cracking ambassador for women in Airsoft, one of the founding members of UCAL, the United Kingdom Airsoft Ladies, and basically we just want to wish you all the best. So hopefully
it's too serious, and hopefully
you find your way back.
Yes. You shall be missed.
Yeah. So
you brought a lot.
We don't have like a sign off. Like, goodbye. I don't
know. We could do the wah wah.
Oh no, because I feel that's too sad. I don't know.
It is sad. It's very sad.
It is sad, but we'll hopefully see you in the future. And I'm hoping that it won't be an indefinite pause. Right. There was some other news. What was the other news? We had a question from Jack Reed, which isn't really news, but I'm going to roll it into the news. I'm looking to get a VFC FAL and my friend a WE MP5. Do you think this would limit us to BattleSims, and would we be able to use them for Op4 and Blue4, or neither? What do you reckon?
I don't understand the question. What was he getting?
They're looking to get a VFC FAL and my friend a WE MP5. Oh. There's motion at my front door. I don't know how to turn that off. That's new. Maybe that. Let's go. Sorry. WMP5 and a VFC FAL. Do you think this would limit us to BattleSims, and would we be able to use them for Op4 and Blue4, or neither?
Well, that literally all depends on the game rules, really. For BattleSims and things, it shouldn't be a problem. For more in-depth milsims, I would say, depending on the rules, the chances are, especially with a FAL, you're probably looking more Op4. What was the other one? MP5. MP5.
Falklands. Falklands was FALs, wasn't it?
Yeah. Did he say MP5 as well?
Yes.
Yeah. MP5 you can use for NATO forces. There's still a lot of countries that use them.
And you could do police sims as well.
And you could do police
if you were so inclined. So,
but yeah, I would say just make sure that you read the game rules. If you fancy one, just have a look at the rules.
yeah, I can't really add to that, to be honest with you. I don't think having a certain weapon platform will particularly restrict you unless you go down the route of a sniper / DMR or a support weapon as your first riff, on the basis that they do have specific restrictions. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to go battle sims and things like that, then generally you can crack on. Some mil sims might be more specific, but yeah, I don't see that would limit you too much. So
no, as I said, just make sure that you read the rules of the game that you're looking at going to, and you can't go wrong then.
So yeah. Right, next bit of news. We have a new Airsoft Shop that has opened up. So not us, just to clarify, but White Sphere Tactical had their grand opening. So congratulations to them. It's very exciting.
Well done,
that's based up at the Blackstone CQB site, which is in
Huntington.
There we go.
and breaking news, will be open on the second weekend of November. For gaming. Exciting. So I think there's going to be a big grand opening on the first weekend of September, but keep your eyes peeled and your ears open. We may have some exclusive interviews. Ooh,
it's exciting. It's exciting. And
I've got a little tingle.
Well, I'll carry on that little tingle because I've got a little bit of personal news in that I have jumped on the bandwagon. MWS. I can't actually show the MWS, so I have the box.
You can keep it in. Is it in the box?
It is not in the box. This is just the outer bit of said box.
Lift up because you're not holding the weapon. It's in the box.
But I'm holding the box. There we go. So I have
the bit with the good bit in.
I'm now the proud owner of a Tokyo Marui M4A1 carbine, which I will do a lot of.
If you hold the box, you're not holding the gun.
I'm not holding the gun in the box because I'll have to go get it for one thing.
Is it not in the room? Did you take it out?
No, it's in a different room. It's in a different room, just in case.
And there was some exciting news as well.
Yeah.
Guess where I stayed?
Oh, yes, Andy stayed in my house. You were literally the first guest that we have had staying in my new house.
Over with Mike.
So, yeah.
I must admit, he can cook very well. But don't ask him for anything because he can't find shit.
I can't find anything. Exactly. Now you know my pain.
Yeah. I asked for a towel and I didn't even get that.
Yeah. You got a towel?
Where?
I brought you down a towel. There's a towel down here somewhere.
Oh,
I'm going to find a towel in my living room in the next 2 weeks, I tell you. Right, so yes, it's not my first GBBR. Dan's saying welcome to the GBBR World. So I have previously owned a WE 888, which was based on the HK 416.
Oh yeah, but that
I want to say. I never really got on with that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I found it really fiddly. Being at the time I did an awful lot of skirmishing. And then I saw the light. No, you're up against, I mean, with a gas blowback rifle, you're obviously up against people with box mags and things like that. Skirmish days, it's a little counterintuitive. So yeah, I didn't really get on with that. And then the other gas blowbacks that I currently own is a World War II Luger, my drug dealer pistol, the WE 1911.
Pistols
I have
gas.
No, I know, but I'm just reeling them off. I've got my MP9 and I do have a WE MP5K, which I have never run. I just like it for the HK slap. I just run around my house with it, just go, because I'm a child. So, yeah. So, thank you. I did get a chance to use it this weekend, which we will cover in a little bit. We were I was at the Defiant BattleSim this weekend that just passed.
I was not. I was broke from holiday.
Yeah.
No money.
You were broke from firing real guns. So,
yeah.
There you go. Shall we? I don't know if there is any more news. I think that's probably the end of what I've got. I don't know if you've got anything else.
No. Other than the Blackstone opening, White Sphere. No, I think that's about it.
Cool.
Pew, 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 pew.
End of news. Sorry, that amuses me, that one. It really does. Right, so we're going to be talking about Defiant's latest BattleSim. So,
yes,
for those that aren't aware, Defiant is an Airsoft events company based in the UK. They run events across the width and breadth of these lovely isles. The latest was based at the... Huh?
If you didn't know who Defiant are, catch up.
Yeah. You should know who Defiant are. They are a banging company. Really, really good company. But
stop.
Let's try my train of thought. Anyway, they this latest event. This latest event was at the Longmoor UTC Urban Training Centre camp down near Aldershot-ish, kind of on the A3. So it started off well. I didn't have a chance to properly pack.
Was it good to be back? Was it good to get back?
It was good to be back. I haven't been to Longmoor in a very long time, and
because we lost
there
it
was,
for a year, didn't we? It must have been like 12 months.
There was that kind of nostalgia, I guess, which with certain places, you know, you can get that nostalgia, like with video games. You play a video game and you're like, oh yeah, I've played that years ago, and then you play it and you're like, oh bloody hell, what? Why has everyone like 1 pixel and stuff like that? Yeah. Obviously, Longmoor's a real place, so you don't get the pixelation issue, but there was nothing lost about it because it's an urban training centre managed with MOD money. Obviously, they use it and they maintain it and they build it up and they make it better. So, long gone are the days of the old metal shutters. They've got now new metal shutters, and the floors are nice cast concrete, which I think they were the last time we went as well. But it's just a lot better looked after than it used to be. Like they're gone are the days of where you fall through the floor, for example. Which maybe is a plus and minus on that front, but yeah, it was good to be back. It was definitely good to be back. However, as I say, it has not. It has not. There are some trenches which I must profess I didn't get a chance to go and even have a look at. So they were out of gameplay because, from my understanding, there is some lack of maintenance contract with how these trenches are being looked after going forward. So I don't really know the full ins and outs, but yeah. So there are some new bits and pieces there, but it's Longmoor. I mean, you can't beat it. It's like for those that have been to any UTC, anything like that, Leeds, Longmoor, Anzio, Camp Anzio.
Yeah.
You get that nostalgia and that love for it. And when you get to go and play there again, it's like, oh yeah, we can do this. It's good. So,
Very
right.
jealous.
I didn't pack as soon as I'd like to. And I woke up late, unfortunately, on the Friday due to a slight fault with my alarm clock, which meant that I was not the most prepared going to this event. I had the same kit that I had on me for the JBG event, along with some... My lamp just fell over. Along with some and other random bits and pieces that I could find, just sort of scurrying through my garage, which didn't include a sleeping bag. So I turned up to the event without a sleeping bag. I would like to point out I went hardcore, man, because I took a wool blanket. So I took a woolen blanket with me, which fortunately wasn't as itchy as everyone said it was going to be. Not as warm as I would have liked, I'll admit, but it was still comfy. I was, I didn't not have anything that I needed that weekend. I wasn't as prepared, but I didn't not have everything. Yeah, some could say I did a
new Chris. At least he had trousers.
Yeah. There was one, and I hope this is not Chris's fault, and I know it's not Chris's fault, but it is a funny story. Chris, bless him, managed to miss the exit on the A3 and apparently went to the wrong place, which again, I stand by it, not Chris's fault, but it was quite funny.
Was it? How
No, because the A3 and the A331 in Guildford are very confusing because they split and then they go the wrong way. So you want to go right, but to go right, you have to come off the A3 because it then like sweeps around and goes over the top. So yeah, wasn't the most prepared. Anyway, we rocked up to the event. Obviously welcomed by the Defiant team. They showed us through. Excellent hosting as always. Welcomed us into the event. And then we were joined at the event by a number of companies, which for the life of me, I had planned to know the list off the top of my head before we came into the stream. And I will find them out as we come through. But there was a shop basically on site. Empire were there. I know that Delta Mike were there with the Face Pro. And there was another company there. But I can't remember. It was a rifle company. Which ones?
Flashbang Smoke.
Flashbang Smoke was there. No, not Flashbang Smoke. Bulk Pyro Supplies were there, who are in the process of winding up for the moment. So they're not going to be doing all the online orders. So they're going to be doing some bits and pieces, but they're kind of winding down a little bit. I think they put a post out in September, but I think we actually missed, to be fair. Oh, thank you. Priority Airsoft. That's the one I was looking for. Priority Airsoft, Empire Airsoft, Delta Mike, and Bulk Pyro. Thanks, Rich. So yeah, there was a nice little shop going on. It was like a little kind of marketing atmosphere in there. You've obviously got the Defiant guys that you could have a chat to if there were any problems. And this was the Saturday morning, so this wasn't turn up on the Friday night and camp over or anything like that. It was literally stop on the started on the Saturday morning. Everyone's kind of parked outside the main concrete fob, getting the kit ready, and then it was game on. I think it was about 10:30-ish. And I must say, for a battle sim, whilst it did eventually evolve into a little bit of a skirmish day at Longmoor, I think it was still clutching on to that battle sim-esque approach as best it could. Like, I know that there was a lot of kind of chat from sort of various people sort of saying it devolved into a bit of a skirmish, but what my personal what I saw was basically, yes, it was groups of skirmishers, or it was skirmish groups. Sorry, that's probably a better way of putting it. So it wasn't a skirmish in terms of you got just kids running around like left, right, and centre. There were just little fire teams forming as and when to go and deal with a certain situation. So, for example, someone shouts out and we find out that the enemy's pushed on that building. It wasn't a case of everyone's just kind of going off on their own. It was a case of like, right, groups of guys were just forming up in little teams, and then you're sort of finding that they're kind of bounding into buildings and stacking up. That
sounds like what a battle sim's meant to be anyway. Like, that's the whole point of it.
It was, the premise was obviously set up.
Organised skirmish, really, isn't it? A battle sim isn't.
Yeah, I mean, the premise was set up with obviously sort of, you had your fire teams and you had your call signs and your comms frequencies and everything like that. There was a lot of conflict and bleed over with some of the comms. The sections were quite large, which, you talk to the DS team and they're like, well, if you imagine you've got 4 sections of 15 people on one team, so that's 8 sections of 15 across the 2 sides. If you then split that into 8 sections per team of 7, that's then 16 teams, plus you've got a command frequency and everything like that. So there's an awful lot of frequencies that you then need to manage.
This gets over the top, doesn't it? Like,
it does. And then on top of that, and it was a good point, because I was talking to James about this, and it was a good point he made about, this is James from Defiant, in case you don't know. There's another point as well, which is obviously with a battle sim, it's not like there's a fixed command point with, maps and boards and like everyone knows what they're doing, and it's very fast paced. So if you're trying to manage 16 teams of people out on the ground, or even 8 teams of people, it can be hard to do because it's very dynamic in a battle sim scenario. It's not like, right, I need you to go and hold that building and then I can move this unit to that building and then stuff like that.
But it's like when you're shot out, your section isn't going to hold ground.
No.
So you go back and then all the dead players or your reinforcements make a separate fire team. Well, they're all going to be on different comms channels, aren't they?
Yeah.
So then they
which,
run
when
out.
The comms as well aren't helping, You know, you come out of your safe zone or your respawn point, you can't link up with your other team because you don't know where the hell they are. You know, you could spend 10, 15 minutes just trying to retrace your steps whilst obviously under fire from the enemy team. The whole dynamic of the situation has then potentially changed as well. So where you think they were could have now be occupied territory by your enemy team. So there's a lot of moving parts. So it's quite hard to deal with. But from a gameplay perspective, as a battle sim, I thought it was absolutely spot on. You know, it was dynamic. It was lots of room clearing. There's a bit of a challenge with Longmoor and the way that it was used. So obviously there's an Op4 respawn zone and a Blue 4 or they weren't Op4 and Blue 4. It was basically Task Force and Spearhead. No, Spearhead, and Tomahawk. Spearhead and Tomahawk. So Spearhead was your tan team. Tomahawk was a green team. And for those that know Longmoor, there's the Afghan compound, kind of like a breeze block compound structure, which is located behind the railway line. And then you've got the advanced sort of forward operating base, outpost, whatever you want to call it. It depends on the event, what they call them. But that was the task force kind of respawn on the Saturday, which limits the site, in my opinion, especially with a battlefield, a battle sim type scenario. You're obviously you're compressing everything down, which doesn't mean that people weren't obviously kind of going further afield and everything like that. But when you've got points where you know people are respawning from, if you've ever played Battlefield, for example, anything like that, if the further you go to where the enemy respawn is, then you know they're going to be popping out of there. So it kind of limits your maneuverability around the game zone a little bit. But that's not to say it was a bad thing. It's just, you know, having done an awful lot of milsims there, I personally like the open world approach of having as much space as possible that you can maneuver left and right. So, but I mean, ultimately, you're limited with the site. So,
yeah, with a battle sim, you are kind of your main aim is to get people to have a ruck. Whereas with a milsim, you're making people wander around for objectives, and you're trying to be a little bit more sneaky beaky in a way. Whereas a battle sim, like you're there to have a shoot as well as doing certain objectives throughout the day. So maybe like it's probably designed so you have that area of operations that you had to kind of attack your battle sim sort of area.
Yeah.
Whereas if you did the fob further apart, that would be.
Yeah, it's also where are you going to place the fobs as well, because ultimately, you know, you need fixed features. You can't just have random things happening in certain places. You know, if you've got a big open field, ideally you'd probably want the two opposing corners. With this scenario, you've got two locations that make quite good safe zones. They're identifiable locations on the map. So it works. I mean, it was just, I think from a milsim perspective, I like it when it's, you know, you've got a lot more further reach, but and you can go places. No, I know this was a battle sim, and that's what I had to keep reminding myself. So
just because you're a Longmoor doesn't mean you're doing a milsim.
No, I know, and it wasn't a skirmish, and that's the main thing. No.
Chris,
I just want to apologise to Chris. Because he sent me a soundbite. And I haven't had a chance to load it up onto the system yet. So that'll probably be next week. Sorry, Chris.
It'll give something for everyone to look forward to.
Yeah. I want to give a massive shout out to a young gentleman called Louie. So he was tagged King Louie. This young guy, I say young, I don't know why I'm calling him young guy. It makes me sound proper fucking old. This gentleman,
whippersnapper.
Basically, our team were traversing open ground. We had a high value target that we needed to extract out, or an objective or whatever. We needed to take a box of something out of the game zone. So we were traversing open ground, and we ended up taking an awful lot of fire because we'd missed a team that had moved in. Some young guy. We'd missed this team that had moved into basically a better fire position. And completely wiped us out. Yes, we fucked up, to be honest with you, because we didn't have enough Overwatch. Comms were bad anyway. So we were struggling. So we kind of formed a diamond formation loosely around my brother David, who was carrying the objective. And we kind of just went with the principle of, right, I'm down, right, move into cover. We'll just use human shields. So we pretty much lost the entire team except for David, who was carrying the objective. And I would like to note the plan worked because we did get it back to the
So
safe
you mean
zone.
basically you walked across an open field, you all died, and Dave ran away?
Yeah. Except for
Great tactics.
Louie. So King Louie came storming out of nowhere, literally grabbed one of us, pulled us back, medic them in, then came running out again, grabbed them, pulled them back, kept doing that, and then ended up reviving the whole team. So yeah, absolutely shout out to Louie. As Danny said, the kid was on smoke. It was just ridiculous. He was such a wicked
you have
element to the team.
Designated medics then, or could you medic?
No, so anyone could medic. This was it was effectively again for anyone yay King Louie. For anyone that knows obviously medic rules, it's basically one life medic and then one life dead.
Right. And you could medic anyone.
Anyone could medic anyone. It was typical kind of bandage rules and things, tourniquets and things as well. So you obviously had to get them out. There was no requirement for active carry or anything like that. You didn't have to drag players out. You could literally you had to have a hand on the shoulder to bring them out into a point of safety, apply the medic bandage, and then obviously they're back in basically. So there was a lot of Mother Fraser bandages I saw, which was good. So they were well swinging into action on that front. But yeah, King Louie was just amazing.
I've blooded mine up.
Have you?
Yes. I got some,
purposely, or did you actually try using it on, on a real wound?
As it was Halloween, and I saw like a tub of fake congealed blood on the side for 99p in Tesco's. I was like, might as well.
Yeah.
So it's now bloody.
Can't hurt. Yeah. I'll try and find a picture of King Louie because I did dig out his Instagram because he started following us. So if you would like to give, I wasn't stalking him, he followed us first. If you would like to give King Louie a little follow, I will dig that out and there you go. It's Lewis LOUIS _ Hyde HIDE 234. So go and give him a little follow.
Put it on a little scroll.
Oh yeah, that takes a little bit longer than you think it does. So yeah, go show him some appreciation because yeah, just a really nice guy basically, and massively remind me of Ryan. I'm not going to lie. He even looks a little bit like Ryan, I think personally. So yeah, there we go. Go give him a follow. Anyway, so that was the Saturday pretty much.
Well done, Louie, for saving the rest of them because they fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually left my Mother Fraser bandage on the Sunday as well. So thanks, Les.
Did you not even have one?
Les's. No, I didn't on the Sunday because I'd got it and put it in my car and I'd lost it in my box. So anyway, that was the Saturday event. So it was a cracking battle sim. The Saturday, we stopped at about 5 o'clock. All of the single day players, so those were the people that just booked on for the Saturday, went home. Everyone else who was staying on for the Sunday to be joined by the Sunday only players stayed overnight. So we stayed in the billets on the Longwall site, which again, some of the nicest beds, genuinely. They are very comfy. And the bunk houses had heating, electrics, everything like that. So pretty cozy. Got to have a bit of food. So we brought a little cooked plate along and cooked some sausages and burgers and bits and pieces like that. I had a little birthday party with the guys that I was with. So we had some birthday cake and I had a silly party hat and stuff like that. So yeah, it was nice. It was nice to kind of just have a little bit of a social and a mingle with some of the players. I didn't manage to find Lance's torch. I did have a little mooch, but I'm pretty certain that is long gone. So
that has been donated to.
Yes, yes. Some very excited squaddy found that and went yes.
Yeah. Or he didn't. He just went.
Yeah, I'll keep that one. And then we rolled into the Sunday. Now, the Sunday was a very unique situation. So I've not attended an event like this before. but this was a gas blowback rifle, and I'd like to clarify, or real steel capacity magazine event. So I think the original intention was it was only going to be for gas blowbacks, but then there's obviously a restriction on that, and I think that possibly caused a little bit of confusion as to how. But the event was basically real cap magazines. That was kind of the crux of it. But most real cap magazine airsoft riffs are gas blowbacks. So I think a lot of people went along the principle of gas blowback rifles and stuff like that.
Unless you go for low caps or low cap mags, which I think are actually quite hard to find for AEGs.
Yeah, I mean, you can obviously load like 30 rounds into a magazine and run them that way. LMGs and the like were limited to 200 rounds. Yep. So if you wanted to run an LMG, you were limited to that. You could use Stanag mags and things like that, but you couldn't have more than 200 rounds in the riff at the time. So obviously you had to reload and everything like that to kind of try and avoid you from pretty much just spraying everyone else who's running around with their 30 rounds. It was absolutely brilliant as an event. I won't lie, because
I know he's here now because he said he's here now.
Oh yeah.
200 rounds for an LMG sucks, Mr. Man. Because if you're going real steel, that should be 600, 800. Just saying.
I don't know enough about it to know how much ammunition support gunners carry. So I'll leave you two to have that conversation. But I'll be honest with you, having the restriction where people are restricted to how much ammo they can carry, obviously down to how many mags you want to be carrying around. People were playing better. It wasn't the kind of general shoot 'em up, and I hands down see Sunday as having been more MilSim than BattleSim, in all honesty, because people were playing more tactically. We kind of had a bit of a reorg as a team in terms of how the comms were working and how the teams were basically kind of work together and trying to kind of re-implement that kind of organization strategy, which kind of not fell apart, but wasn't as effective on the Saturday. It was a really good event.
Because I've been, how long have I been saying that I'd love to do an entire MilSim with real steel ammo limits on across the board. And I'm proper gutted I missed that. Did it work well? Like, how did it
work well?
Did it
hands down? It was genuinely was just good. It I wouldn't say it necessarily slowed everything down. The problem is that I think the dynamic of players was actually different on the Sunday to the Saturday. So first off, there were less players. So you probably had about 50% of the number of players. Defiant, by all means, correct me, because I obviously don't know your sellout, your ticket sales and stuff. But from my understanding, it seemed to be there was about probably 50% of the players on the Sunday than there were on the Saturday. So with that in mind, obviously you're going to have a slower event anyway because you've got more space per player. Yeah. You're not going to get those super intense firefights necessarily all the time. So you've got the ability to maneuver around buildings and the like. If you've not got people sitting in a building with freaking thousands of rounds of ammunition as well, they can't just continually hose down areas of the site with BBs. So it means that it opens up the chance for accurately maneuvering between buildings without getting shot at. Suppressive fire becomes quite helpful because firstly, if someone's suppressing you, they're going to run out of ammo at some point. They're going to have to reload. Working as a team. Oh, there we go. So about 120 on the Saturday and 80 plus on the Sunday. There you go.
Nice.
So not quite 50% then, but there was definitely a noticeable reduction in players. Now that wasn't in any way a bad thing because I think that sort of aided the event. But I think the way the event was played and the kind of conservation of ammo and everything like that slowed the event. So I don't think it was because everyone was running low caps. I think everyone was just more conscious of not wanting to spam their trigger, if that makes sense. And the event as a whole was run slightly differently, so it felt more tactical on the Sunday. So the way that players and teams were working together, it was a lot more like, right, we're going to hold this building one team takes the next building and then we'll leapfrog, etc., etc. Whereas again, that wasn't really happening on the Saturday, so it was a much faster paced game. But it worked genuinely really, really well. And for the outcome of that, personally, I would love to do a gas blowback only milsim. I think that would be.
I'd love that.
Or real cap mags. Let's go down that route rather than calling it gas blowback, because I appreciate that there are an awful lot of people out there that don't run gas blowback rifles. I'm one of them. I only have one magazine for my MWS, so yeah, I'm not going to be using that for a little while. Well,
if you say gas blowback, then you're limiting yourself to basically one LMG that can be used, and not everyone has like £1,000 to buy that gas blowback LMG. So yeah, I'd really love to do like a real hike, like a real, what would you call it?
A low cap event, basically.
Yeah.
Or a real cap event. Yeah. I mean, I think what I would say is there was a lot more grenade usage going on the Sunday as well. It felt like there were, especially for clearing buildings, everything like that. Because obviously people are using those to clear buildings.
Then but I mean, like, go from literally, you'd only have a handful of grenades like between you.
Yeah.
And once that's done, that's done. Like none of the twist ones that have like 8 rounds in them at a time.
Well, you can have those, but I think you just got to count those as one grenade each time.
Yeah.
So if you've got one of those, that's one. If say you're going to limit a team to like 8 grenades every time they go out, then that's one of those. So yeah, I mean, again, mortar rounds and things like that, they were restricted to the number of rounds that they could carry around, and I think it just worked really well. And I could see that playing more into the immersion and that for events, because imagine an event where you have a team that when they're calling in for QRF is not because I've got some guys down or we're getting tired, but we're actually running out of ammo. We need reinforcement and we need resupply, and maybe the way that you could work it is that there are an element of BBs that can come out to you. It's a challenging one because people run different weights and the like. And there's obviously like gases, and you can't just bring mags out and stuff because everyone's got different mags and stuff. It becomes a bit of a mess. But if there was some way of doing that, that would make the whole QRF like we need to get those resupplies to those teams. Otherwise, we are going to lose that point of contact.
But I mean, each team could set up its own go bag sort of idea. Yeah. So in that go bag, you put like each person puts like maybe a bottle of propane in there. Or you have a team. If you're all running, or most of you are running gas blowbacks, and you're all using propane, then all of you just kind of put one propane can in there, and then just a couple of bottles of BBs at the certain weight. Or so you have it as a team go bag. So your QRF can literally go right. Alpha sections out on the field, they're running low on ammo. You've got a bag there with alpha. They grab it.
And maybe even regardless of propane or anything like that, maybe go down the route of having like every team member can put 2 mags in there and a grenade or something like that. Like, so you're not having a complete resupply, but you're able to stay in the fight for a little bit longer until you can get another unit into, to reinforce them, because that way the commands.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Labeled supply kit. Go bag supply kit. Not being picky.
Yeah, but I mean that would be a cracking way of doing it, because if you've got, if commands have the option of going right, I can either pull that unit back and we lose that area because they're going to have to resupply, or obviously you want to try and conserve how many people that you have in the field at any one time. So maybe they've got to then trade up, or could lose an entire section by just leaving them there and they run out of ammunition and they all die. Yeah, and that would bring some wicked firefights as well from pistols. Yeah.
James. Yeah. Like I've never heard that at any event. And I bet that was well cool hearing that.
But also imagine, right, you run out of your rifle ammo and you're down to pistols. Yeah. Especially with room clearing and stuff like that. If the rifle fire stops and now you're down to pistols. Like, imagine the firefights that are going to go on with people having to literally just defend their position with pistols. If you were to combine that with, say, once you've bled out, you return to the respawn zone and you're out of the game for 20 minutes, half hour, something like that. People aren't going to want to die. You're putting that situation into them. If commands, if they're playing the command role in such a way, they're going, right, we need to obviously maintain an effective fighting force in the field. We can't lose bodies for half an hour. But if we lose an entire section of 15 people for half an hour, that's potentially a quarter of your fighting force down. So you've got the option. You could bring in a resupply. You could bring in an extra team to reinforce them. The reinforcement team could bring the resupply bag, for example. I just think it would be a wicked way of running the event. And when I was talking to James about this as well, the potential for having sort of an LMG element potentially, who are, you've got your 4 or 5 fire teams of kind of riflemen or everything like that. You could potentially have like a grenadier team. You could have your support weapon team, depending on how you wanted to obviously break that event out. But you could have it so that your LMG team comprises of 2 people. One of them's carrying the LMG. One of them's carrying more ammunition. So whilst obviously they might have to reload, so maybe you've only got 100 rounds a mag or something like that, they could just keep reloading the LMG, as long as you put some sort of control in place that they're not just pouring BBs in as they're firing. That could be a... Yeah, say they are a little far for a battle sim, but that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Mil sim. Have that as a mil sim. That would be wicked.
James.
Yeah.
James said from Defiant said these ideas are a little far for a battle sim, and 100% agree. But this is more of a... You'd
run out of time as well. Like, you haven't got enough time for that.
It would be a very niche mil sim. It'd be niche.
But you say it would be niche, but it's something that I've not seen anyone else do. So is that niche or is that innovative?
Or is there a reason that they don't do it?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I guess the problem is you obviously get some immersive events where, and we've seen it happen with multiple events, be it Defiant, Legion back in the day, whoever runs an event, you get different players turning up with different mindsets. If you've got a whole load of skirmish players turning up to, an op Mac based event, which is kind of and I'm going to call it hardcore mil sim, just on the basis of trying to give people an understanding as to how mil sim is.
You just killed James. James is just going to be.
But I mean, ultimately, it is a harder enduring event. What's he doing on there?
If you can comment, you can come on. Oh, I've got no time, but I can watch you. No, come on. Miss you.
I just think it would be wicked. I think it would be an absolute cracking thing to do, and you need the right players at any event to make that event work. For example, there would be no point putting me in a Speedsoft event. I am not going to run around and just get the shit shot out of me.
Oh, you can put
I
me
will play that event as a mil sim.
You can put me in a Speedsoft event. I will be the bag.
Yeah. But that's my point, is that you need the right players to attend any game. And I think there's enough players out there who would be up for doing that. And I probably purely comes down to the fact that people need to understand what they're booking onto. And if you can't be bothered to read something to actually understand how the event works, then I mean, you can lead a horse to water, Bye, Lance. I miss you. Oh, Lance, I don't know if you've seen this. Oh. Lance, I got an MWS, Lance. It's very exciting. Beep, 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 beep. MWS, beep, 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 beep. Anyway, yeah. So it was a cracking event. I've not done a Defiant BattleSim before. I think it's probably the first one that they've done, from my understanding. I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this. Raid, to me, was a bit BattleSim-y. Do you think? You didn't do it, did you? You didn't do Raid either.
I haven't done any. Do you know how many mil sims I've played this year? 2.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. No, the Twitch hasn't gone, Lance. Sorry, on the gas blowback. I am still twitching when I fire. I got the thing to start with, and I was even just in the chrono. I was like,
He'll get used to it. He'll grow up.
I'll work on that one. But no, genuinely, your eyes. I think raids. I think the raid event was, to me, kind of on that BattleSim spectrum, and I get that people will have a different interpretation of it, but for me personally, I saw it as like a BattleSim type thing, albeit, yeah, as James said, it's raid is more like a 24-hour punch up in a phone box. I mean, it is, but for all intents and purposes, that I would say is what you want from a BattleSim. You have two sides that are against each other. You have objectives that you're trying to achieve. There is a form of structure going on. It is not just fuck off and do whatever you want for an hour. It's not a milsim exactly, but it is. I would say it's a BattleSim. I would say that raid kind of forms a BattleSim. Well, raid is kind of like the top tier BattleSim, and then I would say a BattleSim is like your kind of your lower BattleSim. Oh, we need more categories.
God, we're gonna have 1,000 categories by the end of this. James, stop thinking up ideas.
Raid is, on the BattleSim spectrum, raid is more milsim. It's not a milsim, but I say raid is more milsim, whereas the BattleSim was definitely a BattleSim, if that makes sense. Although it on the Sunday was playing out like a milsim, which was quite good.
See, I quite like that. I quite like the idea of having like a bit of a skirmish, fun shooty time, get rid of all your ammunition on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday kind of ease it back a little bit so people have to start thinking a little bit. I like that idea. Sorry, I've just enjoyed. Gavin says, I think we need James on the podcast because this sounds odd, Mike arguing with the chat. Well, we'll get James on at some point, but I've got a really good idea for how we could do this now. So Defiant Events, James has just said, to me, a BattleSim needs to have information flow to and from command. Oh, God. We could just invite him. It's a bit late in the day now. We'll get you on. We'll get you on soon, James. I promise. But I mean, it's a different interpretation of your milsim, etc. But he's in his pants as well, apparently. Perfect. So. James, you can't deny us this. Right. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make: GBBR events, regardless of not GBBR. Low cap or real cap events, I think, are the way to go. I can see an absolute epic milsim happening, which if you've got your role play, if you've got your command structure, if you can throw in some other elements, which, James, I'd like to talk to you about at some point because I've got some ideas for you. Things like EOD, things like drones, things like, interrogations and bits and pieces like that. If you've got a cracking storyline, if you've got the ability that you can keep players out on the grounds for an extended period of time, if you've got half decent comms or a sort of a structure there, I can see the absolute cracking start of a milsim series that I think will genuinely change the face of milsim in the UK. Because I think that's what ultimately people want. People want that immersion with milsim. You don't rock up to a milsim event going, I want to run around for 36 hours straight like a lunatic and then respawn every 5 seconds and then, go up against the kid with the box mag. You don't go to that event for that. No. You're trying to replicate something, and I think that would genuinely be pretty exciting to see. So I would like to keep my fingers on the pulse of that going forward, because I hands down, I think this is the way that milsim should be going in the UK, and maybe across the world. But I don't play across the world. I only play in the UK at the moment. So, but not the winter, because the winter gets very cold for gas blowbacks. Not this. No, I'll teach you the ways. Yeah, and right. I know Dan's just come in the chat. So Dan's obviously from Frontline Events. I know, Dan, that you've obviously got your reenactment style of events as well, and I'm not trying to take it away from you, but I just think that's another level.
As a whole.
What Dan organises is something else, and I highly recommend everyone at least give one of Dan's events a go. because it's different.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this in a bad way for James, but they are different from Defiant. And I think that's what makes both great companies. Defiant will offer you these types of events, and then Dan will offer you that type of event, but with a slight twist to it, obviously with the history side of things.
Yeah.
Both excellent companies, and if you haven't played any of their events, you really need to. 100%.
I'll tell you what, those two maybe should have a chat, and then they could do a historical a frontline Defiant event. That might be a cool
holy
idea.
Shit. I just I've got to change my pants.
Anywho, so
a Defiant frontline event or a frontline Defiant line.
The front line.
The frontline event. Oh, it's got all wet.
And we've obviously been talking about our event that we did, so Op Phoenix, and we've been talking about doing either a prequel or a sequel to this, and we've kind of been tossing ideas around. At the weekend, for those that weren't at the event, the event that we did, where we did Op Phoenix, was with Empire Events, which is kind of a subsidiary of Empire Airsoft. And we were talking to Empire at the weekend about the potential for a sequel or a follow-up event, be that the sequel or the prequel. And we've kind of got some ideas. But I think going forward, one of the things that if that event came to fruition, it would be cool to do that as a real cap event. I just think it works. Genuinely, I'm a huge convert to it, because going into this weekend, I was a little bit nervous about because I didn't have a gas blowback at the time either. So, I was coming at it from the basis of I've got 470 round magazines. I'm going to have to just put 30 BBs in at a time. It's going to be a bit of, not a challenge, but I've only got 4 mags basically. So that's how I would have run that event. And having been fortunate enough to have some friends lend me some magazines for the rifle I was using and the like, it was just so much fun. It really was so much fun. I didn't even have the range, but getting that CQB stuff in, and being able to kind of play as a team and stuff like that, it's just, I really enjoyed it. And Airsoft for me has been a bit of a love-hate thing for the last few months. Not the last few months, maybe the last 6 months really, because there's so much other stuff going on, and Airsoft's a hobby. Obviously, we do the podcast as a hobby as well. And to clarify, this isn't me going, I don't want to do Airsoft anymore, I'm not going to do the podcast. But it's been hard to do, because it's been less about having the fun of doing it and more about kind of, right, I want to go to that event because I want to see my mates, rather than, I could not really that fucked about the Airsoft to a certain extent. But this gave me a bit of fizz back for it again, and I really enjoyed it. So,
nice.
Yeah, there we go.
So, low caps, people.
Yeah. I think there is a discussion to be had about the LMG side of things. I think there is a way forward with it. Now, whether that's done through magazines, because I get what you're saying, Andy. I think there's a difference here between what you can have in the gun and what you can have on you.
Oh, no. Yeah, I wouldn't say that if you've got a box mag, you don't have all your 800 rounds sitting in the box mag, or your P mag. The way that I think would work really well, and this is personally for me, because obviously I spend a lot of time with an LMG. The way that I would look at doing it would be that I would set out, I'd have bags right. So for me, I run a knapsack. So I think that's a real life. I think that's 100 rounds. So I would have 100 rounds in my box mag. But then I would have baggies basically of like 100 rounds, taking it up to, as I said, I'd have to look into it, but I'm pretty sure that 600 rounds is what they get issued, and I don't know if they spread that out, but you would not go over the real steel amount of ammo, and you wouldn't just lump it all into that nutsack at once, like, because my nutsack, it's a bit personal, but the nutsack that I use, I will rephrase that, literally can hold like 1,000 rounds, but I'm not going to put all that. I'm not going to put all 600 rounds straight into the nutsack, because then also as well that takes away from what you're actually doing. Like you haven't got that realistic limit, and also as well when you're firing, when that runs out, you have to stop and you have to reload, which you would have to do in real life, and that takes a few seconds, so it makes it a little bit more realistic.
So there's a question from Jigglypuff Gus, which is how much 600 LMG rounds weigh. So just a little bit of Googling, because I'm not the font of all knowledge on this, but a 5.56mm cartridge typically weighs around 12 grams, with the brass case making up 56% of its weight. So if you times that by 600, that's basically 600 rounds of that would be 7.4 kilos.
But then that's without the linkage as well.
Yes. Yeah, Rich says, remember, every 400 rounds you have to change the barrel. This is what I mean. I think there's a way of doing it. There must be a way of doing it. Now,
that's what I mean.
How that mechanic works, I don't know. But
yeah, it's longer for you to load a baggie into a box mag. It will take you longer than just changing over a box mag, which is why I think if you have your box mag, then you have separate baggies, and then you've got to kind of pull yourself out. So once you've done, say, 400 rounds, so say for example, to make it, you could have the 400 rounds, but you can't have individual box mags. You have to like literally have a baggie. So you have to take the box mag off, pour it in, close it up, put it back in, connect your line and everything. If people did it that way, then that kind of counteracts the 400 rounds with the change of barrel. I don't know. It'd be something that you'd have to time.
It might be. Out. It may also be that you potentially your LMG gunners become, trusted players. I guess. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, well, you got your cliques going on at the event, but if you can't. Yeah, but no, I didn't say elite players, but trusted players. But if you're going to be using that as a certain role, I mean, for example, Legion events. We did Legion events where they had an EOD team. The EOD team were basically, good friends, and they worked well with the Legion events company. It wasn't just a case of some people had booked on and gone, oh, I want to be a EOD specialist for the weekend. And the same is like with mortars and everything like that. You look at a lot of events nowadays, if you're running a mortar or a tag round or something like that, there are special rule sets that you have to adhere to. And maybe it's just a case if there is an element of, right, if you've got an LMG, just stand back at the end. We're going to have to have a quick run through with how you can use them. And if you can't use it properly, or if you found not to be using it properly, we're going to take it away from you as a team. Your LMG's broken. It's out of action now. You've run out of barrel replacements. I don't know. But there must be ways of doing it. It's the same with mortar rounds and things like that. If you've got a mortar tube and you've got someone absolutely rinsing through a mortar tube because they brought a box of mortar rounds, or we've been to events where people have boxes of Mark Vs and they just have a backpack full of them. They're running around with like 400 grenades. Like, if you abuse anything,
event, it was which one was it? Where was the one that we were over at H? Was it where we were in the castle safe zone bit? Which one was that one?
Oh, dog tag.
Dog tag. Was it dog tag?
Was it dog tag?
Can't remember. But that was Red Tide.
One.
Red Tide 1.
2, something like
that. Where matey literally on the football match literally just put the box of. Put the box of grenades down at the football match and then lined them all up on the post and was like,
yeah, dog tag. Thanks, Liz.
was like, right, as soon as it kicks off, I'm just launching all of these. So I was like, well, that's not.
Yeah. I mean, this thing, you see these things happen and the like, and it again comes down to the player ability and everything like that. But, you know, I mean, we've obviously done sniper only events where we've been laced up more than you kind of perceive the players to have ammunition for. And maybe that's just a perspective thing. Maybe players have more ammunition than they should have. I don't know. But the point is that, you know, any rule set that you put in place is obviously liable to being broken. But Airsoft as a whole is premised on that whole honesty-based game. So
that's what I was about to say. Like, the whole point of Airsoft is that, yes, there are the odd one now and again. You don't come up against many mil sims, but definitely, like, it's a whole trust thing. If you throw an extra 30-40 rounds into your LMG, the only person you're really cheating is yourself, I think. And that would be my opinion. And if someone on my squad said, oh, I've just loaded an extra 5 rounds into my mag, I'd be like, okay, we'll take those 5 rounds out then. Because the whole point of us being there is to have that another level of gameplay.
So Defiant James said, we may allow LMGs to use mid-cap Stanag mags for M249s. We're unlikely to allow underloading mid-cap mags for rifles. But let's be fair, the best LMGs at the event were the VFC M249s. So
yeah,
they
are cracking.
I quite like. Philip has come up with an excellent idea, which is every 400 rounds, the LMG gunner has to punch out 20 push-ups. That'll slow things down.
Shut up, Phil. So they've got to run around with the heavy weapon and then do 20 push-ups. Nah. Shush your pipe. Oh. I
mean, you know, there's other ways of looking at it as well. So I mentioned the
drink.
I mentioned the concept of having a two-man team. If you could even have it so LMGs could only be deployed on like a tripod or something like that. So you've got a secondary person that's having to carry some sort of tripod around. It doesn't have to be a particularly bulky tripod necessarily, but even having to set out a tripod to some extent to kind of create that firing position is going to be a pain and another detriment to that LMG team running around. So maybe that's the way of slowing them down. So, you know, maybe if we can't work out the ammunition issue, maybe reduce their mobility, for example, or hinder them in some other way. I don't know. There's ways and means of doing various things, and no doubt, you know, there will be a solution. It might work, it might not work, and it would just be adapt, overcome, and review if it doesn't work or something goes wrong. So,
yeah.
Rich said, Philip, you're going to give someone a coronary.
Yeah.
Pegasus says, James, where do you stand on the... just having a chat with James now. James, where do you stand on the TM Mark 46? The mag holds 1,000 rounds, but only feeds 100 before you need to rewind and rack the rifle. See, that might work, but again...
That is a good realistic feature, but then it's another...
But then again, you've still got that whole issue of you've got someone with 1,000 rounds, and if you've only got to do one mechanism...
You could put 100 rounds in, and once you've fired 100 rounds, it will stop, and then you just have to put another 100 rounds in. But you still have to rack it and everything.
Yeah, Jigglypuff Gus, everyone has to help carry LMG ammo. I mean, that's the other thing. You could have a setup whereby LMG ammo is provided in certain magazines which are weighed down, for example. There's all sorts of things that you could do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, James says 1,000 rounds is not real cap, is it? So, yeah, Les says the LMG/mortar run as a two-man team. So again, with mortars and things like that, you know, if you've got a mortar tube, you can't have it just one person's running around with a mortar tube and 12 rounds, because obviously mortar rounds are quite substantial. I don't know. I mean, there's rule sets and things that I think will be developed. You know, probably the first game of Airsoft that were played where people went, I don't want to just count to 10. I want to do something a little bit more realistic. Let's put a bandage on. that was an element of innovation that some companies do differently. Some companies have different medic rules. I mean, like Octo, for example, obviously have for years gone down the route of having limb hits and things like that, not necessarily incapacitating you as a dead player. And I think innovation's key. I think ultimately, if we're going to try and make the game better, and by game I mean Airsoft as a whole and Airsoft Milsim, not Defiance events or games. But yeah, there you go. Punish one. Hello, Lance. Get repro inner belts of link.
Oh, you liar! We caught you.
Lance says, get repro inner belts of link. If people in the team are happy to carry the link, the LMG has more ammo. Is another way of doing it? I like the idea of the resupply, to be honest with you. Ignoring the LMG ammo capacity thing, I think having the capability of someone bringing out a bag of kit, or even like a pelly case, because obviously bags can get damaged and stuff. You don't want people's kit to be destroyed. But if you had like a pelly case that they've got to bring in as a resupply thing, might be quite cool. Yeah.
You fool.
Lance says, I'm packing whilst watching. Fool. So it's an interesting one. It may be a subject for further discussion in the future. Perhaps.
Very excited.
Yeah. Well, how many pistol mags? Well. How many pistol mags would you have on you? Out of interest.
Two. I don't know.
It's just an open-ended question. It was just because obviously 17. Lance isn't running 17 pistol mags. He's running 17 pistols with one mag in, and just he doesn't change the mag. He changes the pistol. Yeah, Gavin would run three pistol, one in the gun, two spares. Yeah, I only had one this weekend. I didn't use my pistol at all. Chris went, it's not the same as an Octo event.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Rich says 3 pistol mags, 2 on the belt, 1 in the gun. So. It would be quite amusing if you ran 3 pistol mags, 3 on the belt, none in the gun. Oh, yeah. Defiant have said, as wonderful as all these complex rules are, fuckers can't get to grips with a 5-minute bleed out. I mean, there's a simple way of that. Mandatorily, you have to have a watch. If you don't have a watch, you can't play the game. Or I'll tell you what, if you get caught not understanding a 5-minute bleed out time, you get issued a buzzer. We'll have a chat with Harry Badger. He can make up someone can pay him to make some buzzers that you slap onto people on like Velcro, and every time they hit, they have to hit the 5-minute buzzer, and he just goes 5 minutes remaining.
With your voice.
4 minutes remaining.
And then it'd be like when you're when you go to a restaurant and they're like, oh, we're a bit busy. Here's the tag. It will go off when you're ready. And just have it.
Yeah, I am being slated now by the guys that I ran with this weekend because I didn't actually have a watch on me. I was having to use my phone. So yeah.
Why did you even turn up? It sounded like you just basically turned up and just went, "Hi, I'm Mike. Give me stuff because I don't."
In my defence, I bled out for 10 minutes on one time, and I died and then had to go back to the safe store. So it wasn't just I came back in.
Cheating.
It wasn't cheating. I died for longer. If there's anything that we learned this weekend, I'm a liability to the team. If I move house,
I'd just take away the if I moved house bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Harry says, I've already got an armband with a button for medicing and also a countdown for bleed out. There you go. Look, see, it. I told you he'd have something.
Harry's already ahead of the game.
Yeah, man. Yeah. James Dadson.
Can you make a machine that counts out the amount of ammo as well? Because I'm bored of weighing. For the LMG. Oh, I did one game once where the LMG, no one else is limited, but the LMGs were limited to 200 rounds. So I literally got a calculator out and was like, right, well, I'm running 3 2s. So 0.32 divided by 1,000. I was like, right, baggy, pour it in.
when I was trying to sort of sort my gear out and kind of condense it all to put into boxes, I got a little set of micro scales. So because I had this big bag of BBs that was really annoying me, like I don't know what the weights are. So I got about 20 minutes through weighing each BB to work out what weight it was so that I could correctly sort it. And I was like, oh, this is not worth the time. It really isn't. Like, BBs do not cost that much. So now I just have a big bag of mixed weight BBs that I don't really know what to do with. So
you need a moss cart now.
We can't run moss carts at certain events. So I don't know what to do with them.
Give them to Harry, he'll make something out of it.
Yeah. I feel that what you could do is make a if you had, I mean, again, this isn't in any way related to the Milsim conversation, the real cap mags, but if I had a riff that I knew ran at a certain weight and it was fine on all the certain weights, I just put a mixed bag in, and then you get a proper scattergun effect, because it doesn't matter what you've got your fucking hop set to. Some of those BBs are dropping, some of them are flying up into the sky. We'll see how that goes.
Maybe get Harry to make
Claymore, that's a good shout.
Yeah, Claymore.
Yeah.
Or I was going to say airburst grenade or airburst mortar, so it will fly up and then explode and just rain down BBs on everyone.
Yeah. James said, "Can you make me a dunce hat that counts down to 5 minutes, please, Harry?" That'd be entertaining. And the armbands, Harry says, were a 2025 project for Josh. It's cool. So again, innovation. It's exciting. Right, last few questions and comments. Rich brings up the Boss system. So this was the Boss 203.
Yes, I saw a video of that.
Which I didn't have a chance to properly play with, but I was standing next to it when it got fired, and I won't lie, it gives you the tinglies. It's very cool. It's very, very cool. All the videos that you see of it don't do the sounds justice, and I think that's because obviously the level of noise output is not picked up appropriately on like the microphones or whatever that's being filmed. I have a sneaky suspicion that as more and more of these come into the field, we will be seeing more and more of them as people go, that's cool. I like that. And yeah, you come up against it and you hear this blimmin' thing blapping away over in the corner. You're like, oh, something's going on over there. I like that. So yeah, they are quite expensive at the moment, though. I'm hoping they come down in price, because I wouldn't.
Well,
say
hopefully,
no to
once it start getting better, they might start getting smaller. They might start.
Yeah.
Innovation.
Well, I'll be honest with you. All it's going to take is one of the big airsoft companies to go, do you know what? Can we take that and put that into our rifles as stock? Because, if you had an airsoft company mass produce these things, they are going to be able to make it cheaper. They can then whack the price on that rifle up. But as they do that, these things will become more commercially available. Yeah, Rich says it was fucking loud, but £700 is a lot.
Did it sound like a speaker, or did it sound? Do you know what I mean? Did it have that weird digital sound to it, or was it actually not that bad?
It didn't sound digital, but having heard real firearms fire, it wasn't, in my mind, exactly the same, if that makes sense. But what I would say is, obviously, if you could, and I don't know the ins and outs of the mechanism, but I would assume that you could change the noise that it actually makes, potentially. I don't know. I mean, if it's a digital system, then presumably it's firing some sort of noise. Proper crack. It's a propane snap. It's not a speaker. It's burning propane. I thought it was a speaker. The M203 is a speaker system, I thought. Oh, I'll have to look this up now.
Yeah, because they use those for reenactments. So you can run a propane line into a gun, and it makes a tiny little explosion. So some of the ones, like especially on like the big 50 cal machine guns and things, that's when you see them at reenactment events and they're firing away. There's a few out there that are propane fed, and you can make them freaking loud.
I was under the impression it was just a sound system. The one that I had seen previously was a sound system. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is gas powered. I'm going to have to look into this. I will come back to you. I'm probably being shouted at in the comments. No, it's propane. No, Boss works on map gas. Boss system is propane. Okay, fine. The ones I've seen prior have been speakers.
So that is why it didn't sound digital. Because
yes,
it's not.
that'll be why then. Oh, well. Okay. It was still freaking cool. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, it's a 50 mix of propane and oxygen. We have one. You have one? Ooh.
They're cool.
The 50 cal. The 50 cal?
Yeah. They're wicked. They can make them proper loud as well. They are a bit of a pain in the ass to get the ratio right, but once you've got it right, they're wicked.
They're planning to release an XGP 34 as well, which is the AK equivalent, by the way, of the underslung grenade launcher of the Boss. Yeah, I thought someone I know might be interested. Pending from the XM 203. There you go. Yes, I apologise. It is gas.
I'm going to have to buy just a massive propane bottle, aren't I?
It's 140 to 150 decibels. To give you an idea.
So you wouldn't be able to use it in CQB sites.
Yeah. It's cool though.
It is cool.
Right. Unless there's any more questions in. Rich says, are you attending Mac Delta?
I'm hoping to.
I won't be. On how prepared I was this weekend, I need some time to get my
ready.
life in order. Otherwise, I genuinely might die. So,
I think me and Lance are planning on going because I missed the
could be good. The Machiavellian events are cracking in my mind. So yeah, after a debrief of that. When is that in November?
I don't know. The booking's not open for it yet, though, is it?
Is it not? I'll look it up. While we're doing that, Rich said the trenches are out of bounds for everyone, including the army.
Because health and safety has to come first.
Yeah. Stephen says, Mike, how do you find WE guns and mags performance and maintenance wise? So I run WE and TM gas blowback pistols, specifically Glocks. Never really had a problem with the WE Glocks at all. Mags wise, the only problem I've had with the CO2 ones, so not obviously the gas ones, the CO2 ones, the valve on them, which gets a little bit leaky over time. To remove it, it's kind of like a brass fitting around that, which you kind of slot this kind of weird barrel-shaped key with two little nubs either side of the barrel to kind of open up that valve and to replace that or replace the fit. That keeps stripping, and I've fucked up quite a few mags trying to get those out, which I find particularly challenging. The gas blowback ones, the ones that you put your propane or whatever in, not too bad, to be honest with you. Generally been okay. As long as you look after these sorts of things. As I say, the MP5K I don't really run around with. I've got the capability to, but I don't really use a lot. It tends to just, as I say, purely be a, this is cool. How about you, Andy? Have you ever had any WE guns?
No, I had a W. Well, no, yeah, I did. My Glock that's sitting up there is WE, and it was shite. It's broken, and I've never bothered to replace it or fix it or do anything with it. and that was it. Although WE high capper mags are all right. I use them quite a bit. They're a bit cheaper. But
I've looked up Machiavellian Delta. Machiavellian. I can never pronounce this. Can we please, James, change the name of this event so I can pronounce it, or teach me?
Well, everyone else just calls it Mac Delta.
Yeah, I need it written phonetically so I can actually say it out loud. Basically, booking is open. There are apparently 25 places remaining, Andy.
I know.
The event is on the 22nd to the 24th of November. So yeah, get it booked on, Andy. Mm-hmm. Lance is booked. Booking closes soon.
I'm going to drop my lovely little James a message.
Defiant Events, James says, Lance is not going to survive Machiavellian Delta. This is my current goal in life. We had a meeting with the RSM of Longmore on Mac, and he said I'm a cruel bastard.
So I will be put on a different team, please.
Gavin's booked on. That's the thing. I mean, it is, you need to turn up to these events prepared. With the BattleSim, I had the capability I could get away with being underprepared. With an event that is a hard style, hardcore, whatever we're calling it, a super milsim. You need to be prepared for these things, basically.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go scuba diving without a scuba tank, but you can go swimming without a scuba tank. So there's a metaphor for you.
Wow.
John, we had a message from John Donadio. He really enjoyed it. Talking about the Defiant BattleSim.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Right, I think that's the last comments through. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can give us some positive feedback, negative feedback, as long as it's constructive.
Feedback.
That'd be grand. Yeah, just feedback in general. You can email us on our email of nofochat@hotmail.com. Our Instagram is @November_Foxtrot_nofo, and the website is novemberfoxtrot.co.uk. Just as a reminder, if you want to give King Louie a follow at Lewis_Hides234
over there,
go and give him a little shout out. Yeah, next week, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what we're going to be discussing.
Stuff
of some
about airsoft,
interesting context.
Kit, weapons.
Yeah,
stuff.
I had hoped to have a guest on, but unfortunately, I don't know if they're going to be available because I think they've had something go wrong, which was a bit of a surprise to you and Lance. But we'll see how that goes. But if not, we will have the usual level of interesting and exciting content.
Yes, and we will update you on our socials of what this exciting content shall be.
Yes, that'd be grand. Yes, you do need to teach me how to talk, Gavin. I'm struggling. Andy, do you want the closing words this week?
Yes.
Nice one. Nicely put. Just don't fart in a closed room.
There you go.
Excellent. Right. If please feel free to leave us a little thumbs up, a like, or anything like that. If you want to put a comment or share the video, that obviously just helps get us out there.
Also,
actually,
if you haven't already, press the bell. Press the little bell if you're watching on YouTube. Just get that notification dingling.
Yeah.
Because it helps us spread our magnificent words.
Yeah. And one last little thing. Just as a little teaser. We've got some exciting stuff coming up for Christmas. We potentially have some giveaways for Christmas. We do. We've potentially also got our Odor Surplus potpourri, which will be one of our charity fundraisers. We're going to be picking our new charity for 2025 of who we're going to hopefully support. So we will shortlist some charities and then we'll put that out as a poll so that hopefully, the community can help pick. If you've got any suggestions on charities that you think we should have a look at, send them to us. We'd be interested to see. Because ultimately, it's the community raising money for the community. So that's the idea. Nice one. Cool.
Nice one. Well done. Yes, well done, people.
good going, guys.
Well done.
Right, say goodbye, Andy.
Bye, Andy.
If Lance is still listening, say goodbye, Lance.
He's
That
probably
might take a while. Yeah. Goodbye, Lance. Right. Chris has nothing to say. We'll see you all next week. Have a good one. See you later. Stay
Bye.
NoFo. All that lovely stuff.
NoFo. Ciao, Bella. Kisses.
Beep, 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 MWS, beep, 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 beep.
Tit.